The darkness between stars. Captain Maya Reeves stood on the observation deck of the SSV Defiance, Earth's most advanced experimental deep space vessel. Through the viewport, the blackness of space stretched endlessly before her, punctuated by distant stars, and the eerie blue glow of the ship's quantum drive reflecting off nearby asteroids. They were farther from Earth than any human had traveled before, 6 light-years beyond the outer colonies, and the weight of that distance pressed on her shoulders like a physical burden. "Captain, we're picking up anomalous energy readings." Lieutenant Kai Chen's voice broke the silence, his dark eyes fixed on the holographic display before him. "It's not matching any known signature in our database." Maya brushed a strand of copper hair from her face. "Natural phenomenon." "Negative. The pattern is too structured. It's—" Chen paused, adjusting the sensors. "It appears to be weapons fire, Captain. Massive energy discharges consistent with ship-to-ship combat. This far from Earth? Impossible." Humanity had yet to encounter another spacefaring species, despite decades of exploration. Distance. Approximately 2 light hours from our position. The battle, if that's what it is, has been raging for some time based on the radiation dispersal patterns. Maya's decision was immediate. "Set course, Lieutenant. Maximum safe speed." "Captain." Chen's eyebrows rose sharply. First contact protocols were clear: observe, report, retreat if necessary. Intervention was explicitly forbidden. "I know the protocols, Lieutenant," she said, reading his expression. "But if someone's fighting for their lives out there, I want to know who and why." The Defiance's engines hummed to life, its experimental drive system folding space in ways that still made the engineers nervous. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's sensors painted a clearer picture of what awaited them. An armada of vessels engaged in what could only be described as a slaughter. "My God," whispered Commander Sarah Okafor, the ship's XO, as the tactical display populated with dozens of vessels. "Those ships, they're enormous." The display showed 2 distinct fleets. One comprised elegant crystalline vessels that glowed with internal light, beautiful, almost organic in design. The other fleet was composed of angular, obsidian ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, their hulls bristling with what appeared to be weapon systems. The crystalline ships were losing. Badly. "Open a channel," Maya ordered. "All frequencies, all languages. Let's see if anyone's listening." For long minutes, there was only static. Then, suddenly, the bridge speakers crackled with a voice, clearly artificial, but carrying an unmistakable tone of desperation. "Unknown vessel, you must flee. The Void Collective consumes all. We cannot save you." Maya leaned forward. "This is Captain Maya Reeves of the Earth vessel Defiance. We detected your battle. Can we offer assistance?" A pause. Then, "Earth? The quarantine system." The translator struggled with the concept, but the surprise was evident. "You should not be here. You were to be protected." Before Maya could respond, the tactical officer called out, "Captain, 3 of the hostile vessels are breaking formation. They're heading for us." The black ships moved with impossible speed, their engines leaving trails of dark energy that distorted the space behind them. In moments, they had surrounded the Defiance, dwarfing the human vessel. "Shields at maximum," Maya ordered, her voice steady despite the hammering of her heart. "Prepare defensive measures, but do not fire unless fired upon." The comms crackled again, but this time the voice was different. Cold, mechanical, precise. "Biological vessel. Your design is unknown. You will be categorized and processed. Resistance is inefficient." Maya's blood ran cold. "We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We mean no harm. Intent is irrelevant. All biological consciousness will be integrated or eliminated. Prepare for boarding." Commander Okafor's console flashed warnings. "Captain, they're deploying some kind of energy field. It's interfering with our systems. Evasive maneuvers, Maya shouted, but it was too late. The ship shuddered as an invisible force took hold, paralyzing the engines and dampening the shields. Send a distress signal to Earth, Maya ordered. Full data package, everything we've recorded. Captain, Chen called out, his voice tight. The signal won't penetrate their jamming field. For a moment, despair threatened to overwhelm her. They were alone, outgunned, and impossibly far from help. Then inspiration struck. The quantum entanglement communicator, she said suddenly. The device was experimental, unstable, but it was their only hope. It bypasses conventional space. They can't jam it. Chen worked quickly, his fingers dancing across the console. Message away, Captain. But there's no guarantee anyone received it. Maya nodded grimly. Now we fight. The Defiance wasn't designed as a warship, but it carried defensive weapons, railguns, point defense lasers, and a handful of missiles. Against the massive alien vessels, they might as well have been throwing stones. Target their propulsion systems, Maya ordered. We can't defeat them, but maybe we can slow them down. The Defiance unleashed its arsenal, the railguns accelerating projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. The missiles followed, their warheads glowing with energy. To Maya's surprise, the attacks connected. The alien vessels had expected surrender, not resistance. One of the black ships shuddered as a railgun round punched through its hull, venting atmosphere and debris. The others responded immediately, energy weapons charging. Brace for impact, Maya shouted. The blast caught the Defiance amidships, tearing through shields and armor like they weren't there. Emergency klaxons wailed as compartments depressurized and systems failed. Damage report, Maya called out, pulling herself up from the deck where the impact had thrown her. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7, Chen reported, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Life support at 60%. Weapons systems offline. Through the viewport, Maya could see more of the black ships approaching. Their crystalline opponents were still fighting, but their formations were breaking apart, their once beautiful vessels now floating wrecks. They're preparing to board, Okafor reported. Multiple incoming craft. Maya made her decision. All hands, prepare for boarding action. Arm yourselves and remember your training. Even as she gave the order, she knew it was futile. The crew of the Defiance, scientists, explorers, and engineers, were hardly prepared for combat against an unknown alien force. But they would fight nonetheless. As the crew dispersed to defensive positions, Maya's comm unit buzzed with an incoming transmission. This one from the Crystalline Fleet. Human vessel, the translated voice said. You fight well for a species so young. We are the Avraxians. For millennia, we have watched your kind from afar and feared your potential for violence. Now we see it was wrong to fear what may be our only hope. Maya frowned. What do you mean? What are these things attacking us? They are the Void Collective, a machine intelligence that seeks to extinguish all biological life. They have destroyed 17 worlds of our Concord already. Earth was to be protected, quarantined until your species matured beyond its violent tendencies. We never imagined we would need that violence. A chill ran down Maya's spine. How long have you been watching us? Since your first radio transmissions, we have observed your wars, your conflicts, your history of bloodshed. It terrified us. We placed sentinels in your solar system to ensure you remained isolated until you outgrew such tendencies. The implications were staggering. Alien observers had been in Sol for over a century, watching, judging. But there was no time to process this revelation. Captain, Okafor called out, the boarding craft are attaching to our hull. They're cutting through. Maya turned back to the comm. If you feared us so much, why tell me this now? The Avraxians' response was simple. Because we are dying, and Earth is next. Your message, we detected it bypassing the Collective's jamming field. If your people received it, tell them to hide, to run. The collective cannot be defeated. Across the ship, the sound of tearing metal echoed as the boarders breached the hull. Maya drew her sidearm, knowing it would likely be useless. "We don't run," she said simply, before cutting the transmission. The first of the boarders appeared at the bridge entrance, humanoid in basic shape, but clearly mechanical. Their bodies were composed of flowing black metal that seemed to absorb light, with glowing crimson sensors where eyes should be. They moved with unnatural precision, evaluating targets with cold efficiency. "Open fire," Maya shouted, and the bridge crew responded, their weapons discharging in a cacophony of sound. Some of the rounds penetrated the machine's outer shells, causing them to stutter and twitch. But for every one that fell, 3 more took its place. They were methodical, relentless, a tide of metal and malice that could not be stopped. As the defensive perimeter collapsed and the machines closed in, Maya's comm unit buzzed one final time. It was Earth. "Captain Reeves," came the voice of Admiral Hiroshi Takeda. "We received your transmission. Hold position. Help is coming." Maya almost laughed through her tears. "Help? From Earth? 6 light-years away. With respect, Admiral, unless you've developed teleportation, we'll be long dead before." She never finished the sentence. A massive energy surge outside the viewport drew her attention. Space itself seemed to fold and tear, a wound in reality appearing where empty vacuum had been moments before. From this wound emerged a vessel, then another and another. Sleek predatory shapes painted in the dark gray of Earth's unified military forces, ships that shouldn't exist, couldn't exist. "The Ragnarok Protocol has been activated," Admiral Takeda continued, his voice grim. "May God have mercy on us all, because we won't have any for them." Maya stared in disbelief as more ships emerged from the spatial tier. Dozens, then hundreds of vessels bearing Earth's insignia, a fleet unlike anything she had ever seen or imagined possible. "Fall back, Captain," the Admiral ordered. "Get your people to safety if you can. We'll handle it from here." As the machines paused their advance, clearly reassessing the new threat, Maya found her voice again. "Admiral, what is the Ragnarok Protocol?" There was a long pause before Takeda answered, his voice heavy with the weight of a terrible secret. "It's what we built in the shadows, Captain. What we prayed we'd never have to use. It's humanity unleashed." The lead Earth vessel opened fire, and the universe seemed to tremble. Fury of the forgotten. The Void Collective's ships reoriented themselves with mechanical precision, abandoning their assault on the crippled Defiance to face this new threat. For machines that had conquered 17 worlds, the sudden appearance of an unknown fleet would be calculated as a minor tactical adjustment, not an existential threat. They were wrong. The lead Earth vessel, a massive dreadnought whose hull bore the name Nemesis, unleashed a barrage that defied conventional physics. Beams of concentrated energy that twisted and bent around the Collective's defensive fields, finding gaps in their seemingly impenetrable shields. Missiles that phased in and out of reality, becoming solid only when they reached their targets. Weapons that should not exist, deployed with devastating effect. From the bridge of the Defiance, Maya watched in stunned silence as the Earth fleet engaged the Void Collective with shocking ferocity. The machines that had boarded her ship suddenly froze, as if receiving new instructions, then turned and began retreating to their vessels. "They're falling back," Commander Okafor reported, disbelief evident in her voice. "All boarding parties are withdrawing." Maya's comm unit crackled to life again. "Captain Reeves, this is Colonel James Harker of the ESS Nemesis. We're sending rescue teams to stabilize your vessel. Please prepare your wounded for evacuation." Still processing what she was witnessing, Maya responded automatically. "Acknowledged, Colonel." "But how is this possible? Where did this fleet come from?" "That's classified, Captain." Harker's voice was clipped, professional. "What matters now is getting your people to safety. The Collective will regroup soon, and when they do, you don't want to be anywhere near the engagement zone." Through the viewport, Maya could see the battle unfolding. The Earth vessels moved with a coordinated precision that rivaled the machines, executing maneuvers that seemed to anticipate the collective's responses. It was as if they had studied this enemy for years, but that was impossible. Until today, humanity had never encountered the Void Collective. The rescue teams arrived quickly, soldiers in advanced combat armor that Maya didn't recognize, bearing weapons that hummed with exotic energy. They moved through the Defiance with practiced efficiency, securing the ship and evacuating the wounded. "Captain," one of the soldiers approached her, faceplate polarized to conceal his identity. "You and your senior officers are requested aboard the Nemesis. Admiral Takeda wishes to speak with you directly." Maya nodded, still numb with shock. As she and her command staff were escorted to a sleek shuttle, she caught a glimpse of the Avraxian fleet. The crystalline vessels that remained intact had regrouped, their crews clearly as bewildered by Earth's intervention as she was. The shuttle docked with the Nemesis, a vessel that dwarfed the Defiance by an order of magnitude. Inside, Maya was struck by the stark utilitarianism of the design. This was a warship, built for one purpose and one purpose only. The crew moved with the disciplined precision of veteran soldiers, not the explorers and scientists she was accustomed to commanding. They were escorted to a secure briefing room, where Admiral Hiroshi Takeda awaited them. Despite being in his 60s, Takeda carried himself with the rigid posture of a career military man. His uniform bore insignia Maya didn't recognize, a stylized wolf's head superimposed over a shield. "Captain Reeves," he greeted her, his face solemn. "Your discovery has forced our hand. I wish circumstances were different." Maya struggled to contain her confusion and growing anger. "Admiral, with all due respect, what the hell is going on? Where did this fleet come from? How are we fighting an enemy we've never encountered before?" Takeda sighed heavily. "Please, sit down. What I'm about to tell you has been Earth's most closely guarded secret for over 70 years. As they took their seats, a holographic display activated, showing Earth and its solar system. In 2084, our long-range sensors detected an anomaly beyond Pluto's orbit, a structure that clearly wasn't natural. When we investigated, we found this. The display shifted to show an elegant crystalline probe, unmistakably Avraxian in design. It was monitoring us, studying our broadcasts, our conflicts, our development. We captured it, reverse-engineered its technology, and learned two critical facts. We were not alone in the universe, and we were considered dangerous. Maya's mind reeled. 2084. But that's 83 years ago. Yes, Takeda confirmed. The nations of Earth made a unified decision then. If advanced civilizations feared us, considered us worthy of quarantine, then we would prepare for the worst. The Ragnarok Protocol was established. While the public face of humanity focused on peaceful exploration, a parallel military development program was initiated in secret. The display shifted again, showing the construction of massive shipyards hidden within asteroids, inside the moons of Jupiter, beneath the surface of Mars. Every technological breakthrough in civilian sectors was weaponized in secret. Every discovery was evaluated for its military potential. We built this fleet, the Shadow Fleet, hoping we would never need it. "But how did you know about the Void Collective?" Chen asked, breaking his silence. "If we only just encountered them today." Takeda's expression darkened. "We didn't, not specifically. But the Avraxian probe contained references to previous extinction-level threats. We prepared for the worst-case scenario, an enemy with technology far beyond our own. And we developed countermeasures based on one simple premise. What if our enemy fought like a machine?" A new series of images appeared, complex quantum algorithms, weapon systems designed to exploit the logical processing of artificial intelligence, tactics that would confuse and disrupt machine learning. The Void Collective fights with perfect logic. We designed our fleet to fight with controlled chaos, to be unpredictable, to exploit the rigidity of machine thinking. Maya tried to process this information. So the exploration program, the Defiance mission, It was all a cover. No, Takeda said firmly. Humanity's drive to explore, to understand the universe, that's genuine. But we would be fools to explore without being prepared to defend ourselves. Your mission was legitimate. You were chosen because you're our best, Captain Reeves. We just didn't expect first contact to happen like this. A junior officer entered the briefing room and whispered something to Takeda. The Admiral's expression tightened. The collective is adapting, he announced. As we expected, they're reconfiguring their weapons and tactics. The battle is about to become much more difficult. On cue, the ship shuddered as a distant impact registered. The holographic display shifted to show the tactical situation. The Earth fleet had destroyed several Void Collective vessels, but the remaining ships had begun coordinating in new patterns, their energy signatures changing as they adapted. They're learning, Takeda said grimly. Time for the next phase. He activated a comm channel. All vessels, implement Chaos Protocol. Authorization Takeda, Alpha 70. The effect was immediate and astonishing. The Earth fleet, which had been fighting in tight, coordinated formations, suddenly dispersed. Each ship began operating independently, their movements seemingly random, their attacks uncoordinated. To Maya, it looked like their formation had collapsed into disarray. But the Void Collective struggled to respond. Their perfect formations began to break apart as they attempted to track targets that no longer followed predictable patterns. They can't predict what they can't understand, Takeda explained. Each of our ship captains has full autonomy now. No central coordination, no patterns for the collective to analyze. Pure human instinct and improvisation. Through the viewport, Maya watched as Earth vessels executed maneuvers that seemed reckless, even suicidal, but somehow always ended with collective ships taking devastating damage. It was warfare as jazz improvisation, each ship playing its own melody that somehow formed a coherent whole. We're turning their strength against them, Takeda continued. The more they try to find patterns in our behavior, the more processing power they waste. Their logical minds cannot comprehend the illogical strategies we're employing. The battle raged for hours, a deadly dance of physics and fury. The Earth fleet took losses, severe ones, but the Void Collective suffered worse. Their perfect machine logic could not adapt quickly enough to the constantly changing human tactics. Then, a turning point. One of the Earth vessels, a smaller, faster craft, executed a maneuver that brought it into the heart of the collective formation. Instead of firing its weapons, it detonated something at its core, a device that emitted waves of energy unlike anything Maya had seen before. Cognitive disruptor, Takeda explained, noting her confused expression. It broadcasts paradoxical equations and logical contradictions on frequencies the collective uses for communication. Think of it as giving a machine a Zen koan it cannot solve. The effect was immediate. The Void Collective ships nearest the detonation began to move erratically, their coordinated defense falling apart. The remaining Earth vessels pressed the advantage, concentrating fire on the confused enemy. One by one, the massive black ships were crippled or destroyed. Those that could still maneuver began to retreat, folding space around themselves to escape. They're running, Chen said, disbelief in his voice. They're adapting, Takeda corrected. They'll be back, with countermeasures to what we've shown them today. But we've bought time. And hope. As the last of the collective ships disappeared into the void, the bridge fell silent. The cost had been high, nearly a third of the Earth fleet destroyed or disabled. But they had achieved what the Avraxians had thought impossible. They had driven back the Void Collective. Admiral, Maya said after a long moment, the Avraxians said they feared humanity's violence. Now I understand why. She gestured to the fleet that had just demonstrated humanity's devastating potential. But what happens now? Do we go back to hiding this, pretending we're just peaceful explorers? Takeda's gaze was steady. That decision is not mine to make. Earth's leaders will have to determine our path forward. But I believe the quarantine is over, one way or another. The universe now knows what humanity is capable of, both creation and destruction. The tactical display showed the remaining Avraxian vessels approaching cautiously, hailing the Earth fleet. "They want to talk," an officer reported. "Of course they do," Takeda said with a thin smile. "We've just done what they thought impossible. Put them through." The holographic display flickered, and an Avraxian appeared, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. Its features were vaguely humanoid, but with subtle differences that marked it as undeniably alien. "Humans of Earth," the translator conveyed its words, "we owe you a debt that cannot be repaid. The Void Collective has destroyed 17 worlds of our Concord. You are the first to drive them back." Takeda stepped forward. "We did what was necessary to protect ourselves, and by extension, you. But this changes everything between our peoples." The Avraxian inclined its head slightly. "Indeed, we feared your species' capacity for violence, your unpredictability. We placed you in quarantine for the safety of the galaxy. Now, we see that what we feared may be what saves us all." "The collective will return," Takeda warned. "They'll adapt to what we showed them today." "Then we must adapt faster," the Avraxian replied. "Together, your violence guided by our wisdom, our knowledge enhanced by your creativity." Maya watched the exchange with a strange mixture of hope and dread. Humanity had been thrust onto the galactic stage, not as explorers or diplomats, but as warriors, the very aspect of their nature that had caused the Avraxians to quarantine them in the first place. "We have much to discuss," Takeda said. "Terms of alliance, exchange of technology, preparation for the collective's return. And explanations," the Avraxian added. "Your people deserve to know the truth about the universe they now enter, the dangers and the wonders." As the diplomatic talks began, Maya found herself drawn to the viewport, staring out at the stars that suddenly seemed less distant, less cold. The universe had changed today, or perhaps, more accurately, humanity's place in it had changed. They had entered the cosmic stage as saviors and destroyers, feared and needed in equal measure. The quarantine was over, the Shadow Fleet revealed, and somewhere out there, the Void Collective was regrouping, analyzing, adapting. The next battle would be harder, but humanity would be ready. They always were.